Hello, I'm Dionne. Welcome to my studio. I'm just busy here finding my Picasso book because this is who we are looking at today. So we are looking at the amazing Picasso, who you may have already heard of because he's very, very famous. Now, he's very famous for a very good reason, because Picasso completely changed and challenged how we thought about art in the modern age in the 20th century. So he took all the rules and he ripped them up, and he challenged himself constantly as well. So he thought about, how can I try to paint or describe a person or an animal? And he would use objects, he'd use paint, he'd use sculpture. So the possibilities of his material was endless. And his subject matter. So sometimes he'd be looking at a flamingo, sometimes he'd be looking at a person in front of him. So he constantly thought about what it was he was trying to capture and why. So he did a lot of work with looking at how to put objects together in interesting ways. He did a lot of work on how to paint things in different ways. So he's famous for lots and lots of different styles of painting. So he was very much a big part of the era that was called Cubism, which is this sort of style here. He was huge for moving that forward. He was also huge in more kind of conceptual ways of thinking. So how can we take an object and reassemble it and turn it into something that actually represents a person or a creature, which was really, really new and exciting in his time, and also now when you go back to look at his work. So how he approached painting could be really varied. So sometimes he'd work really small and sometimes he'd work on a massive scale. The same with his sculpture. There's a famous picture of Picasso, here it is here, of him just there. He's just having his breakfast and suddenly he has croissants for fingers. So Picasso was constantly very, very creative. So what we're going to do is we're going to channel some of that, and we're going to kind of limit it slightly because what he did was so huge, and I'd really like you to explore that and research that. But we're going to be looking more at his line drawings just to start us with some of our ideas. And we're also going to be taking inspiration on how he thought about objects. So I've got an object here that's already painted white, but I'd like you to, whatever you have, if it's not already white, then paint it with a layer of white and it will give you a nice surface to work on. If you don't have an object, then it might be that you'd like to use some clay to make something like a pot or a plate as your starting point. But we are really embracing Picasso's approach to objects as our starting point. So we're going to take our object and we're going to think about Picasso's approach to line drawing. So here, simplicity is key. So I'm going to think about Picasso's lovely flamingo that he's done, which is a tricky thing to draw on a curvy surface, but you can kind of see what I'm aiming for here. And then I'm going to take that there, and then I'm going to give some really long legs that go all the way to the bottom. And then I'm going to give that really nice distinctive beak there. So I'd like you to, look at all of his drawings. It might be that you'd like to copy one. It might be that actually you'd like to make up your own. That's fine. But I'd like you to fill the surface of your object with as many different line drawings as possible. Now, it could be that you do the same one and you just repeat it so it goes in different areas over your object, or it might be that you just like to make one that's really big and then others that are smaller. Totally up to you, but really think about the whole object, so not just one side. And then once you've done that, I'm going to get you just to really enjoy painting in your drawings. So we've done them in pencil, so you can paint them in. You might like to, once you've painted everything in, go redefine your lovely drawings, but with something like a black, really thin paintbrush with black paint. So it's up to you whether you'd like to keep it so it's a really obvious drawing or make it more like it's a crazy pattern. So you're in charge, you're Picasso, and you can make your own rules with this one.